Hello and welcome. I'm so glad you're here. So my name is Alisha, and today I'm going to be teaching a fairly basic and fairly gentle back care practice. Okay, this is going to be pretty focused on the low back. I am going to offer a lot of options around both movement and breath, and please know that those are optional. If you need to do something else, take your time, take care of yourself, and if you need to rest, I really strongly encourage that you do so. Okay, so let's begin standing. Just finding a strong mountain pose. I'm standing on my mat with the extra cushion of a blanket, just because. You could also step forward off the mat, stand on the floor. Just find something that works for you. Okay, so from here we look down, take stock of the feet, got the feet about parallel. We can soften the knees just a little bit so we're not locking them, we're not hyperextending them, not making it feel too open in the back of the leg. Good. And then making ourselves just a little taller. So that means pointing the tailbone down. Good. Keeping the lower belly and hips solid, and then just lifting the spine and the torso out of the hips. So there might be a little firmness here in the low belly. Maybe even in the sides a little bit, yeah? Good. So just for a moment, let's take a breath in. Let's bring the shoulders up toward the ears. And we're gonna exhale. Good, keeping the lower body as is, breathing in. And good. Spreading the toes wide, again, tucking the tail, so pushing the pelvis just a little bit forward. Good. Perhaps we can broaden the chest a little bit. It could be that we draw the shoulder blades in toward the spine while still keeping shoulder girdle, tops of the shoulders, even the sides of the neck can relax a little bit. So notice what the knees are doing. Can you soften the knees a little bit? Just bringing the chin to level. Again, softening the shoulders on the exhale, taking a full breath in, standing tall. And then exhaling, let the body relax. Good, we're gonna bring the arms up and take a breath in. And then we're gonna exhale, drop the arms. Good, inhale, shoulders up to the ears. Exhale, gently drawing the shoulders down the back. Good. A few times like this. If it helps you to breathe in and coordinate that movement with bringing the shoulders up, feel free to do that. And then maybe we bring a little more movement into it. So bending the knees, just sort of flowing up and rippling down. And it doesn't have to be so exaggerated. It could even just be sort of a gentle cat-cow, feeling the bottoms of your feet. Good. Okay, let's let it go. Let's take our strong mountain pose again. Feet are parallel, body is strong and lifted. We're lifting the torso up out of the hips, right? What are the hands doing? Can the hands relax a little bit? Breathing here, letting all the little toes relax. Good, okay. So we're gonna make our way down to the floor. Take your time getting there. Woo. There are a lot of ways to arrive, and I would not say that any is better than the other. So maybe you're sitting up on a folded blanket like I am now. Maybe you have a bolster that you can use for support. You could even use a block or two. And keep in mind, if this easy sitting pose is not so easy for you, you could find a kneeling position, toes tucked or untucked. Another option we have that utilizes the blanket would be to find that kneeling position. Bring the blanket to the heels. Good, and maybe we find that that is a little more restful, a little more symmetrical, And then one more option that we have here is just standing on the knees, okay? I do have my toes tucked behind me. It helps me feel a little more balanced. You could bring tops of the feet to the floor. Good. So we're either kneeling, standing on the knees, or in that seated position. And all we're doing is feeling the length in the spine. Good. Bringing the chin to level. Drawing the head back so that the head just sits balanced on the top of the spine. A lot of us are doing this much of the time, whether we realize it or not, yeah, because we're shoving our heads forward to look at screens, the computer, what's ahead of us in traffic, etc. So whatever position you're in, close to the floor, kneeling, sitting, etc., we're sitting up tall, we're bringing the head back a little bit. There is a slow spread of the collarbones. Slow stretch shoulder to shoulder, especially if you are doing any amount of drawing the shoulders down, back, and in toward the shoulder blades. Okay, let's take a full breath here. On the exhale, just notice that the hands can be soft. Good, taking a breath. And exhale, soft belly. Good. Okay. If you are in the easy seated pose, we're just going to switch up the ankles, so doing something that's unusual or feels a little weird to you. Those of us who have blocks nearby and who are kneeling, you could always bring that block between your heels and sit up on it that way. Okay, we're just going to be doing a few more things from this position. So, as you're ready, just leaning forward, leaning back. If you're kneeling, this is going to feel like cat-cow, but without your hands on the floor, right? So maybe it works for you to breathe in as you bring your heart forward, lifting your eyes, lifting your chin. You could let your mouth hang open. And then a slow breath out as you round your upper back, pushing the spine toward the back of the room. Good. Maybe you can extend your arms, opening up that space between the shoulder blades, right? Good. Breathing in, gently guiding the body forward, opening up the throat, and breathing out, another rounded back. So, doing that just a few more times at your own pace. Again, if we were kneeling, we could be a little more exaggerated with some of these movements, or not at all. You know, it could be just moving from the head, the neck, maybe the tops of the shoulders just a little bit. So see, we have a lot of options. There are many ways to make this gentle. More than likely, folks are modifying for a number of issues. We've all got different things happening in the body, old injuries, new injuries, or maybe just, you know, the shaping that we've got, okay? So let's continue to be gentle. We're going to move from whatever position we've been in toward a staff pose. Oh, there go my feet. Okay, I'm going to back up a little bit. If you were sitting on a folded blanket, I suggest continuing to do so, especially since this staff pose can just bring to our awareness how tight the low back is, how bound up the hamstrings might feel. Okay, we won't be here for too long. We're making this L shape with our body with the spine pointing up, the legs extending forward. Good. Let's keep a little energy in the feet, by which I mean the feet are engaged. You could just put small spaces between your toes. You could even just draw the toes gently back toward the face. Good, and let's breathe here. Never a bad idea, right? Good. And then softening that a little bit, you can let the back round. I'm going to scoot my seat forward off the blanket now. Good. And I've got my hands behind me. Good, the computer went to sleep. This is the first video I've made, so we're still learning. Okay. It's like, get a move on. Okay, so I've got my hands behind me, got my shoulders relaxed, got my feet extended out in front of me, and then a little more space between the feet, okay? Could be as wide as the mat. All we're doing here is just rolling across the seat from one side to another. Good. If you can let the shoulders be a little soft here, okay. If you need to keep some structure in the upper body just for the sake of the neck, you know, a tight neck or tight shoulders, etc., like I said, modify how you need to, do what you need to do. All right, so bringing the feet in, about hips width distance apart. Good. Hands can pretty much stay where they are, but what we want to do here is really spread the fingers wide. Lots of space between the first finger and the thumb, okay? Especially if you have sensitive wrists, putting a little extra pressure into the first finger and thumb is going to help to strengthen the wrist and take some of the pressure out. So here we go. This is called reverse tabletop position. I've got my fingers pointing to the sides of me, to the left and to the right, but you could do whatever's going to work for your wrists. I like to bring my feet a little bit wider and then bring my pubic bone up a little more. So I'm going to recommend keeping the front, back, sides of the neck all long. Good. So this is also neck strengthener, of course. Let's take one more breath. And then exhaling slowly, slowly, lowering the seat. Okay, good. Now, if you'd like to do that windshield wiper thing, you can. If you'd like to come to a more upright position and do some stretches for the wrists, one that I like is interlacing the fingers and doing the opposite interlace, and then just this sort of figure 8 shape, yeah, in both directions. So it's a little gentler on the wrist. Good, okay, so we did that reverse tabletop. We've got our seat back on the floor. Let's extend the legs again. This time, just a little bit wider. So a wide leg position. Good. Again, energetic feet, sitting up tall. Okay, you can even bring your hands to your hips. Feel that weight. Good. One more breath. And let's let the breath go. Okay, good. As you're ready, we're going to bend the knees softly. Sitting forward a little bit, so you're resting on your sits bones, those pointy bones underneath you. Here, I'll show you from the side what I'm doing here. As opposed to rounding back and resting on the sacrum, we're just perching here on the sits bones. Okay, almost like we were going to get ready for a boat pose or something similar. But we're not. We're just going for a pretty easy, gentle forward fold. So it could be that you keep your knees deeply bent and you just lean forward any amount. Okay, this could be your forward fold at the moment. Totally fine. Option to drop the chin toward the chest for some opening in the back of the neck, the base of the skull, tops of the shoulders. Good. And if after a few moments, a few breaths, it feels easeful, reasonable, sustainable to move forward into a deeper fold, feel free to do that. Of course, there are always different levels. If you wanted to make this a more disciplined, no, I don't want to use the word disciplined, but a more structured, more intense, more challenging forward fold, you know, you can do that, but it's never a bad time to have a discussion about not pushing ourselves to the edge every time, right? Okay, So just a moment or two in that forward fold. Taking it easy, taking full breaths, expanding the back of the body with every inhale, right? The ribs get a little wider, the rib cage gets bigger. Okay. And then after that last exhale in the forward fold, go ahead, just roll yourself up one vertebrae at a time. Good. Come back to our seat. And then let's just ease ourselves down onto the mat. Okay? I'm going to do a few things down here, sort of continuing the same movements, bridges, movement in the hips, just trying to mobilize the low back, hips, hamstrings. We can work all of that pretty gently from the floor especially. Okay. We're going to bring the feet as wide as the hips. We're going to bring the arms alongside the body. And then just walking the feet in a little bit. Maybe you can brush your heels with your fingers. I've got long arms. But what we don't want to do is bring the feet in so far that the thighs rise and the knees point forward, right? Let's keep the knees above the ankles. Good. Okay, nice and easy. Stepping into the feet. And before we go any further, just noticing the balance of weight between your feet, okay? That's really important to pay attention to. What are the hands doing as the low back just hovers here above the floor? Can the hands relax and settle? Can the underneath of the forearm soften against the mat? Good, we're going to take a breath. We're going to lift the hips just a little bit higher. Good. Buttocks is engaged. Thighs are engaged, spreading the toes wide, and then putting a little extra pressure into the big toe on the right side and the big toe on the left side. Good, taking a breath here. And then to exhale and slowly roll the spine down one vertebrae at a time. We can really take all the time we need. Good. Once we reach the mat with the low back, let's bring the feet wider. You could have your arms out to your sides. Sometimes I like to do cactus arms overhead or even hold the opposite wrist overhead. Hoping you can see this on the screen. In any case, just this windshield wiper movement in the legs. Okay, good. All right, go ahead. Open it up. Let's find a 5-pointed star on our backs. We're going to reach through all 4 limbs and the top of the head. Good. So breathing in, we're going to extend the limbs. Tuck the chin just a little bit and exhale. Letting that go. Good. Take another breath. And exhale. Good. All right, coming back to our bridge. Gonna step the feet in. Feet about as wide as the hips. Good. Bringing the heels in a little closer to the buttocks. You can lift the hips. This time, you have the option to just keep the arms alongside you. It's a good one. Continuing to lift up from your front hip points, resting on the backs of your shoulders. Making sure that there's not too much weight in the head, not too much pressure on the neck. Could be a little bit of tucking the tail here. Yes, it is harder, but it can help to protect the low back, which we are interested in doing, right? Option, if you'd like, you could interlace the fingers underneath you, shifting side to side. Good, extending the arms. Good. Take a moment. What direction are the toes pointing in? Can you point the toes in the same direction? And continue to lift up from the hips. Good, we're gonna take a breath. Whatever shape you've found yourself in, let's begin to move out of it slowly. Good, lowering the back a little bit at a time. Good, and then finding this windshield wiper movement, letting the breath be easy. and slow. Good. And from here, let's find some version of happy baby pose. So just shifting side to side. If you'd like, you could reach for your lower legs or your feet. Good. Just taking a few breaths. Could also just be still here. Notice the grip that the hands have on the lower legs or feet and see if you can soften that. Good. And now as you're ready, bringing the knees together, extending the legs up. Here we are in staff pose on our backs, right? So just a different orientation. Spine is long. Good. Legs are extended, feet are involved here. Let's just have arms relaxed by the sides, palms resting face down. Good. All right. Lowering the heels just a few inches. It could be 6 inches. Probably no more than a foot. We're just going to take this shape. Take a full breath in. And then exhaling, we're going to lower the feet another inch, 6 inches, foot. I'm going to trust you to know what to do with your time and your body, right? As long as it's sustainable, which means we can stay there, we can breathe without pain, without mental distress or, well, distress. Discomfort happens, right? It's okay. Let's take a breath. Let's guide the legs all the way up. And then we're going to fold the legs in. So bending the knees, wrapping the arms around, just dropping side to side for a little massage in the low back, right? Hopefully. And also hopefully this is still recording. As I said, pretty new to this. Okay, good. So, we're on our backs, had the knees tucked in. That was really nice, that was lovely, right? Let's shift to one side. Slowly lift ourselves up. Just come back to our seated position or kneeling position or your seated against the wall position just for a moment, long enough to gather. Take that in. Good, full breath here. And full breath out. Good. So shifting on your mat, we're going to make our way to hands and knees position, tabletop position. And I'm going to suggest a blanket here on your mat just for a little extra support. Okay? So, tabletop position, setting this up with care, with intention. Knees on the blanket, let's have hands rooted to the floor, fingers spread wide. You could have your toes tucked or untucked. One tucked, one untucked, whatever you want to do here, okay? Good, so we've done this already in class. Just opening the front of the body and then slowly opening the back of the body. We're going to do this a few more times, just easy, easeful cat and cow. And feel free to incorporate any spontaneous movement. If you transition from your tabletop and cat and cow into any spontaneous movement you like, you can just feel free to explore. Good. Feel free to get some more space in the low back. Good. And trusting your body's own sense of what's happening, what's going to happen if you move this way or that. Okay? All right. Just going to fall back into child's pose, big toes together, seat to the heel. Arms could be alongside your ears. Arms could be alongside your body. Good. If you'd like to shift the tail side to side, you can do that. All right, and moving forward, tabletop position. Good. We're just going to step the left foot back. So stepping the left foot to the back of the mat. I've got the left toes tucked. I'm pushing forward, pushing back, just giving that leg and ankle and foot a little movement. Okay, same thing other side. And obviously the back of the body is where the focus is. That's where the movement is happening. But we can't lose sight of what's happening in the hands, wrists, fingers. If you've got sensitive wrists, you could make fists. Also, we have the option to drop down onto the forearms for some of these poses that are a little closer to the floor. All right? If you're on the forearms, fingers interlaced, or palms down, either way. All right. Let's go ahead and step back to some variation of plank pose. So, plank pose, you can have your knees resting on the floor. You can have your elbows on the floor. Elbows and forearms, that is. This could be plank pose. This could also be plank pose. Again, finding something that works for just 2 more breaths. Good, and then we drop the knees, we bring the big toes together, we send the hips to the heels, and then we press into all 10 fingers. Okay, pressing into all 10 fingers and lifting the palms and the forearms and the elbows away from the mat. You might notice a stretch between the shoulder blades as you do that. Good, letting that go, shifting forward. Good. All the way to downward facing dog. Go ahead and move around however you like in downward facing dog for just about 5 breaths. Okay, sometimes that feels like an eternity, especially when we have unstructured time. I'm sure we don't know anything about that these days. Right? But go ahead, find some movement in down dog, find some breaths. And then just take a moment to be still there, to rest. We can rest even in active poses, I think. Okay. So from downward facing dog, all we're going to do, step the left foot forward. Good. Set up a lunge, a low lunge. You might have blocks, mine are imaginary, as you can see. Got right leg extended, right heel up, left toes point forward. This is all we're going to do for the moment. Just breathe and take in the structure of this low lunge. Good. All right. Right hand to the floor or to a block. Left hand to the left quad above the left knee. If you wanted to scoot that left foot to the left a little bit to give yourself a little more space, you could do that. I'm going to suggest just any movement. It could just be a little forward and back. It could be a deeper bend and a lowering of the right hip toward the floor. It just depends on how your body is feeling. Another thing we could do is extend the left arm up. Good, taking a breath. Exhaling. Good. Inhaling. And dropping the hand, scooting left foot back to the middle. Good. Planting both hands. Downward facing dog. Now, if you like to move through chaturanga and so on, you're welcome to do that. I did say it would be a fairly gentle practice, which is why we're moving slowly and hopefully not hitting our max every time that we find a pose, right? Okay, so we're going to bring the right foot forward next, making this a strong and stable lunge, one that is going to be good for your body. And what does that mean? That it makes your body look good? No, probably not that. Good in that, again, it doesn't cause any mental distress. You know, there's a trust that can be established here between the body doing poses and the mind requesting them, right? So At some point, you can find a little movement from this lunge, just a little bit. And then, if you like, you can take the arm up, really root into the right foot. Keep the left leg and the left heel on line. Good. Remembering where things are and what they look like, even if you can't see them. Take a full breath here. And a full breath out, dropping the right hand to the mat. Stepping both feet back. Plank pose. Some variation of plank pose. Good. Taking a breath. Downward facing dog. Good. Little sway of the hips. Just side to side. Then what we're going to do is walk the feet in just a smidge. Bend the knees deeply into the belly. Stick the butt out. And then we're going to lift up from the sits bones. So opening up the backs of the legs. Heels can be nice and high. Just being aware, we don't want pressure or pain right here below the knee, okay? So, doing that again, deep bend in the knees, maybe bring them almost to the floor. Good. And then pressing up, 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 opening up the hamstrings, lifting up from the sits bones, taking a full breath. And a breath out. Good. One more time. Bending the knees deeply. Good. Pushing up, and then let's exhale. Knees to your blanket. We're going to adjust our placement on the mat so that the blanket is beneath the hips and the legs are extended. You can make a little pillow for your head with your arms. Good. Just taking a few moments, a few breaths. If you'd like to keep moving, one thing you can do here is to windshield wiper the legs. You might notice the connection that you feel in the low back. Okay. Good. We're going to drop the legs to the floor. We're going to bring one side of the face to the mat. So just resting here. Let the neck soften. And let the arms move away from the body a little bit. Good, resting the tops of your hands and forearms on the floor. Good. Gonna take a breath here. And breath out. Good. Let's move very slowly as we need to turn the head to face the other direction, and we'll rest here. Good. As you're ready, you're going to bring the head to the center so you can rest your chin or your nose or your forehead. I'm going to go with nose, I think, maybe chin. I'm going to suggest first bringing the feet a little bit wider, maybe even as wide as your mat, and then reaching arms straight back. What we're going to do is take a breath and just lightly lift the front of the body away from the floor, okay? Good. So, if you want, you can bring the eyes forward just a little bit, or otherwise, just keep them on the floor below your face. Let's take a breath. We're going to flow back down. Good. Doing this a few times. Inhaling, float up, and exhaling, float down. I think it's easier with space between the feet. If you wanted to make it more challenging for yourself, I'd say just narrow the body left to right. Does that make sense? Keeping the feet together, for instance. In any case, you can continue to do that. You could take a little rest. You can move to child's pose. Just decide what's going to be the best thing for you, either staying active or resting. Okay. Good, so whenever you're ready, go ahead and just rest on the belly again, head facing one direction or the other, doesn't matter which. Good. And then let's move very, very slowly to a downward facing dog. So to get there from your belly, just tucking your toes behind you, putting your hands under your shoulders, pushing all the way back. Good, move slowly, there's no rush. Good. Downward facing dog, we're going to bring the feet wide. Sometimes we can lower the heels. We're going to walk the hands back. And we're not doing our deepest forward fold here. Since this is about back care, one thing we could do is bend the knees. Good. It could just be sort of a short downward facing dog. Also, another thing we could do for a forward fold, in the case that the back is very sensitive, especially low back, we could do something like downward facing dog against a wall. Now, of course, one part about forward folds is getting the heart above the head, right? So when that is an issue with low back pain, that's why I try to just lengthen the forward fold or shorten the downward facing dog, right? Because this is not necessary, although it can feel nice, right? If right now you wanted to do a wide forward fold, now is a good time for it. But again, the whole point, or one of the main points of taking care of ourselves in yoga is doing what it makes sense to do now with the possibilities and also limitations of the day, right? So, after a few more breaths, a few more easeful breaths in your forward fold, whichever one you've chosen, you can begin to make your way back down to the mat, back down to a seat. Good. And then, once you've found your seat, let's bring the bottoms of the feet together. Round angle pose. Good. Just resting the hands below the knees. I'm going to take a little lean back, lifting the heart forward. Good. Lifting from underneath the shoulder blades. Right? Let the mouth hang open. Good. And coming back to a more neutral shape. Good. So ready, let's take the arms up. Just find this wide V for a moment. You can reach the fingers in all directions. You can just point. Could be peace signs. Whatever you want to do here. All right? Breathing. Good. Breathing. On the next exhale, floating the arms down. We're going to swing the legs around. We're going to make our way onto our backs. So if you wanted to play, if the back is feeling okay, sometimes it's fun to do these rolls just forward back. Not necessary, especially not if it feels uncomfortable on your spine. So let's just come back to relaxing on the back body. Take up some space. Let your legs hang off your mat. Good. If it felt nice and spacious to unfold into 5-point star, you could do that. Good. And we're just going to rest here. Just resting here. Take about 3 more breaths, 3 more long inhales, and even longer exhales. And then at the end of your 3 breaths, I'm going to suggest coming into what's called constructive rest pose. So it's bending both knees, walking the feet until they're about as wide as your mat, letting the knees drop in. Good. Tucking the tail just a little bit so you can feel your low back connected to the floor. Good. And you could keep your arms alongside you as though you were in a mountain pose. You could do what I was talking about earlier, holding the opposite hand or opposite wrist. Good. Go ahead, take a breath, lift up all 10 toes from the mat. And then exhaling, settling the feet, feeling the weight of the feet against the floor, feeling the pressure of one knee against the other. Shifting the shoulders left to right just so they can settle. One option here would be cactus arms with the elbows bent, palms facing up. Or you could extend the arms, find your full wingspan here in constructive rest. Eyes could be opened or closed. Let's just take 2 more in breaths and out breaths. Good. So moving slowly, we'll again rock the knees side to side, moving between the sides of the feet. Good. And then just letting the knees drop in one direction or the other, doesn't matter which, for an easy spinal twist. Now, if you wanted to get a little more involved, say wrapping the legs around, it's always an option. But let's just keep it simple, shall we? Easy spinal twist, easy breaths. Might turn the head so the face is looking in the opposite direction from where the knees are pointing. Okay. Good. Slowly shifting the body, bringing the hips back to the center, bringing the shoulders above the hips, and then the same thing, just a little movement, lubricating the lower spine and dropping the knees. Good. Notice if you can nestle the shoulder blades into the floor. Good, and we're breathing, facing one direction, pointing the knees in the opposite direction. Good, let's move slowly back to the middle. Legs long down the mat. Arms reaching up overhead, full length in your body. You can interlace your fingers and flip your palms and reach like so, taking a full breath. And a breath out. Good, letting everything go. So, you're welcome to take a few minutes of rest, or maybe even more than a few minutes. Maybe this is something that you do to prepare for a nap or meditation or sleep. But I'd encourage you to just take at least a minute or two before moving on to the rest of your day. for the last however many minutes, there was nothing else that we needed to do other than take care of ourselves. And maybe there are other pressing responsibilities, but I think that we're better able to take care of ourselves and to serve in our roles and to support our loved ones and communities if we are intact, fortified, restored, resourced. Okay, and these are things that we can make happen for ourselves via any movement practice, any meditative practice, any practice